What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are here. It is football season. We actually have a game under our belt. What I have for you folks today is none other than one of my very favorite guests, Mr. Jim Coventry of the RotoWire. Jim, what's happening, brother?
Excited to talk football with you, Coop. No better person to talk week one with than you.
Yes, dude. Yes, because there's still room for a little speculation, but we have some
Mhm.
football to actually talk about, and we have a game tonight. Doesn't get any better, dude. So, folks in the chat, for those popping in, here's what we do on the Friday show during the season. Okay, what we're gonna do is we typically build an FFPC weekly lineup, but this week it actually hasn't started yet because the FFPC continues to do drafts through the weekend. How crazy is that, Jim? Do you ever get involved? I kind of want to do one just because, but so you can draft on Saturday with FFPC. You can draft today, you can draft tomorrow, and you can put those players in your lineup. So, once upon a time, Peyton Manning threw 7 touchdown passes on a Thursday. You could draft him on Saturday and put him in. So, but what we're going to do today, we're going to go through all the matchups. We're going to pull out the best possible players, right? And kind of build a mock FFPC lineup. If you guys have questions, ask away. But do me a favor, try and wait and ask during that matchup because we're going to cover every single team here. So if you have a Jordan Addison question, just wait until we're talking about the Vikings and we'll kind of do it in context because there's a lot of games here, Jim. We got to kind of fly if we're going to get through them all, right?
You will 100% fly. We'll hit the major points and move on forward.
Yep, got to keep it moving. So, okay, first things first, let's just recap. Just give me your quick thoughts on this Ravens Chiefs game. Did the Ravens win it? I mean, did the Chiefs win it? Did the Ravens give it away? What were your feelings when walking away from that?
Spagnolo beat Monken. Garbage time almost won the game for the Ravens. I'll make this real quick. The Ravens last year, they had that fullback on the field 57% of the time, 24% yesterday. They couldn't take downfield shots when the game was competitive. There was no room to run because they have 3 new linemen. Had they gone with a heavier look, they could have ran, they could have passed. They did neither. Lamar had to put it on his back.
It's very strange, man. Yeah, they had, and if you notice, they had Patrick Ricard playing like a inline blocking tight end, right? And that line looked shaky. Also, I mean,
Mhm.
the NFL has to figure out what's going on with these tackles that are just moving before the play because it wasn't just the Ravens doing it. Jawan Taylor was false starting every single play. I like there. It's almost like remember when the Colts and the Patriots back in the day. The Patriots policy was to have the cornerbacks just grab them every single play.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
it was the Seahawks did this too for a period where it's like
Mm-hmm.
they can't call it every play, right? I think that's linemen have gotten into that mode where it's like as long as it's not egregious, they're not going to call it. And yesterday the refs are calling it on the Ravens, but not on the Chiefs. It's like just call it or don't call it. I don't know,
Right.
man. It was kind of ruining the game a little bit. But anyway, that's you know what? That game's over and done with. Let's get into speculation territory. Tonight's game, Jim. It's not on our slate for hypothetical FFPC slate, but what do you want to see tonight? I mean, we know who the Eagles are. The Packers, man. How do you think the Packers shake out in terms of usage, targets? We got too many we got too many jelly beans to put in one bottle here with these pass catchers, right?
This has to be a beautiful setup for Matt LaFleur because he schemes the middle of the field on offense open all the time. And where can't the Eagles cover? Middle of the field. Linebackers can't cover. Safeties are really iffy. We're going to see Christian Watson in the middle of the field, Jaden Reed in the slot. We're going to see Josh Jacobs out of the backfield, Luke Musgrave. It's going to be pounding the middle of the field with yards after the catch. They may not even test the cornerbacks a lot in this game.
Right.
They could just crush them.
Yeah, exactly. Over the middle. I mean, it's gonna be brutal. What do you think as far as the big question a lot of people have, Dontavian Wicks? If you had to predict a snap share for him percentage wise, where do you think he's going to fall in ballpark?
It's going to be in the 30 to 35% range. It's not going to be more than that. They're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. That's what the Packers do. And Jaden Reed's off the field frequently because that Reed doesn't even play a full snap share.
Exactly.
So unless there's an injury, how does Wick see a lot of time?
That's what Wicks is to me. He's like obviously we know that he can step in and do it. He had 2 90-yard games last year, but I don't think he did enough to overcome Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson. So there you go. All right, let's get into these games on the slate. Here's what we're doing, everybody. If you're just joining us now, first off, thanks for joining. Second, we're looking at FFPC lineups. The way it works is this at FFPC, which is one of my favorite formats. You can start anyone you want. There's no pricing, there's no draft. The only caveat is you can't start 2 players from the same team, which for me, I love that because you don't fall victim to, like, the super stacks and stuff like that. Like, some of these other DFS platforms, if you didn't you go into a week and it's like, okay, Tua throws 2 touchdowns each to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. If you didn't start all those guys, you just lose. In this format, you can't do that. You can't even stack one guy with the other. So it's kinda cool. We'll go through each matchup, and I'm just going to ask Jim because in this one, the chalk it's basically different combinations of chalk, right? It's like who picks correctly out of Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta this week. So I'm just going to ask Jim who the chalk plays are, and if there's a matchup, a sneaky matchup he really likes, somebody to jump into the top 12 for wide receivers, or somebody to finish top 5 QB. That's the biggest way to get advantage is pick the right chalk and pick the guy that jumps into that range. So, you think you're up to the task, Jim?
100%. Let's have fun with this.
Nobody better for it, man. Nobody better for it. Thank you guys in the chat. I see you guys hanging out. Icy, Jerry, and Toronto Dave, Rex, Timotheus. If you guys want to get set up and play this game with us, go to myffpc.com. Use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more. It's one of my favorite ones because you can kind of do whatever you want. And it's a lot of fun. And there's 4 flexes. So what we'll do is we'll just pull all the names, and at the end we'll circle back and make the lineup. So first game here on the slate, real barn burner, Jim. Let's go with the Vikings against the Giants. Over under set at 41. Only a 1-point spread, so it is a bit of a pick 'em here. Before we get to the players, who do you think wins this game?
The Vikings are winning this game because, Daniel Jones is going to see these blitz looks. Even if they don't get home, he's going to freak. And now we got Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin at corner. They're going to be able to press just long enough where Jones is going to be freaked out. Yeah, I think that offense isn't going to move the ball really well.
Yeah. Is there any we're not using either quarterback, Jim. I'm just going to take that off the table right now. Is there anybody from the Giants that we could consider? I mean, in a just kind of a chalk setting.
There's no chalk setting. The player who's going to have the game that nobody sees coming is Wan'Dale Robinson. With all the blitzes, he's going to be the hot read. And Daniel Jones can make that hot read. And that's going to be all day long. That's the only outlet he's going to have.
There's a group of players that I believe are very talented. And last year they were primarily slot wide receivers. You and I talk about this all the time. You just mentioned with Jaden Reed that he comes off the game for 2 wide receiver sets. The biggest jumps that we see, Chris Godwin year 3, CeeDee Lamb from year 1 to year 2 are those guys that become full-time players. If Wan'Dale Robinson can be a full-time guy, play the slot and play opposite Malik Neighbors, he has big upside. But he still is pretty solid even as a part-time guy. Guys like Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, Jackson Smith-Njigba, those are the guys that can make the jump. So we'll keep an eye on him. On the Viking side, we could consider Justin Jefferson. Nobody else, though, right?
No, I mean, you could take a long look at Aaron Jones. I'm saying no.
Let's take a short look and say no. There's too many good matchups. Again, we want the chalk of the chalk.
That's it. Don't overthink it.
Okay, let's go to a better matchup where we're definitely going to be using players from both sides. How about Jaguars, Dolphins? The over-under on this is going up, 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 up. It's already up to 49, making it, by my last count, the second highest over-under on the slate right now, behind only Lions, Rams. So we're going to want players from both sides. Jalen Ramsey just got paid big for the Dolphins. He exclusively plays on the outside. So on this Jaguars side of the ball, I don't know, it has me steering away from Brian Thomas Jr., I think. What do you think?
Yes, I'm steering away from him in the first game. The player I'm not steering away from is Travis Etienne. And I know they like to limit his snaps a little bit. Miami has so much turnover and injury returns on defense and a new coordinator. Weaver's running the defense. That's going to take a long time for that to get figured out. But I mean, realistically, just the change. And they're not great against the run as it is. And also their liabilities and coverage. Etienne's going to smash in this game.
No Christian Wilkins, right? Like he's gone, baby. You can't replace that. No, it's not something that you can just go and get. So we'll see on that. I like that one too. This is also tight end premium, so keep that in mind. I've seen teams win weeks with like 3 tight ends in the lineup, so something to consider there. But again, I don't know if I want to start Ingram this week. Yeah, just because we don't know what it's going to look like with Kirk, and there's just so many good options.
And if Javon Holland is on him at all, he's like the elite of elite, like free safety coverage guys. That one could be tough. So they run Ingram underneath a lot, so maybe he avoids that. But if he doesn't, that's a bad matchup.
Ingram again, he's a very safe player for your redraft lineups, right? Like you have him in Dynasty, you have him redraft, get him in there. For what we're doing here, we're trying to shoot the moon. You know what I mean? We want big time here. So on the Dolphins side of the ball, I mean, the world is our oyster here. We can pick anybody. I don't think anybody should be ruled out. I would consider. Let me run something by you here, Jim. We could just take the guesswork out of it and consider Tua for quarterback here, but or we could go. I mean, they have so many options.
Because they could run the ball on Jacksonville if they want. If they come into this game, we don't know what to expect from Ryan Nielsen. We saw him in Atlanta coaching the defense up. We know he's going to bring pressure. He's probably going to play some man, which makes it look really good for those receivers. But if those guys are going to be turning their backs playing man, there's going to be some running lanes that we're going to be able to really work on. But who do you start, right?
I know, that's the problem.
Oh, my God. Hill's going to get his 10 targets, and they've got nobody to deal with him. Like, nobody. Ronald Darby, please. Tyson Campbell, please.
And Ronald and Jalen Waddle's been kind of wearing the non-contact jersey, right? I think that's probably the way. I mean, that's the thing, though. It's fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, the chalk does crush these contests, right? It's like you just got to maneuver your way around it. So I'll put Hill down for now. All right. Next one here. This game has one of the lower over-unders, not just of this week, but of the entire 270-something games. Like, I was looking at over-unders for the entire year, and this one could be rough. It's Carolina at New Orleans. That doesn't mean there aren't players that we could potentially use here, though. So we've got a new offensive coordinator in New Orleans with Clint Kubiak coming in, bringing in some of his dad Gary's strategies, as well as stuff he's learned, spending time with Kyle Shanahan. And then on the other side, Carolina Panthers, they went out, Jim. They did the right thing, in my opinion. If you're going to have a guy as short as Drew Brees, set up the offense the way that the Saints always used to do it and go and get 2 elite guards, right? Just don't let people come up the middle so that the guy can see what's going on. $150 million on Robert Hunt and Lewis there. So
yes.
Yeah, so what do you think? I mean, no Jonathan Brooks, which is kind of boring there. I don't know if we want to pull any Panthers, unless I could be convinced.
Look, it's a reach, and he's not chalk in any way, shape, or form. But you think of those outside corners for New Orleans, they're big press guys. Right. And Deontay Johnson's slippery, and he's underneath. That's a weird miss. Not like he's better than them. There's just a different style of player. Like, really, they want to get their hands on you, the New Orleans corners, and you're not getting your hands on Deontay Johnson. So he could get like 9 catches in this game. Exactly. But again, I'm not saying he's a great play.
You're exactly right. It's like Marshawn Lattimore wants to stand up and fist fight you, right? So like he can get a hold of Mike Evans. That's why they're always fighting. But he's trying to fist fight Floyd Mayweather here, who's just he's gonna dodge all those. So I'm with you. It's entirely possible, but I'll put it on the sheet. There's no reason to leave it out because we got to go through a lot of guys here.
Yeah.
On the Saints, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not starting Taysom Hill in any capacity. I don't want to hear that stupid name. But I mean,
and that's from the tight end whisper, who's really not a tight end guy here.
If Juwan Johnson was out last year, when Juwan Johnson was out, Taysom Hill did run real routes for 2 games, and I had him in my weekly rankings for those weeks because he was a real player. But in something like this, you just don't want to flip coins on touchdowns. So,
no.
But we could. I mean, we're not going to start Derek Carr either because they bring in a different quarterback for that goal line business. So we can consider Chris Olave. We could consider Alvin Kamara. That's it.
Coop, I am of the firm belief that Kamara's about washed, but I'm going to say this. Yeah, he had 15th percentile broken tackle rate last year, 28th percentile yards after contact, 24th after the catch. This is Alvin freaking Kamara. But his legs are as fresh as they're ever going to be in week 1. And so if I'm going to play Kamara, and this is a matchup because you got Shaq Thompson, Josie Jewell, and coverage. They're adequate at best. They certainly aren't going to be any type of a match. At run defense, I'm really not enamored. The front line, not good. Linebackers, decent. I think Kamara gets a big workload here, and I think this is a week he can. If you're going to play him, this is the week to do it.
Look, Kamara's back. He was on pace. Here's the thing. He was on pace for
Big yards.
112 targets, right?
Mhm.
That's what you're banking on. He is more of a floor play though, but he's a good floor play this week. So I'm with you. Again, he's not going to turn. He's never had 1,000 yards rushing. Maybe Kubiak's scheme with a little fullback, they drafted a left tackle, could help him. But it's again, that's more of a floor play than a ceiling play. All right,
Yeah.
next one here, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons. This one could be messy. A lot of revenge game going on here. Also, Russell Wilson, now we're seeing he's got this calf issue, might not even play. Man, this one's kind of a mess. But the Falcons do have stars. On the Steelers side, do we want to even consider like George Pickens or Freiermuth?
I don't like the AJ Terrell matchup with the bad. I mean, which would be questionable quarterback play, especially if Wilson's limited. That one worries me. I don't know if this is the best matchup for Freiermuth, but I do think he's getting targets. Floor play, they're going to have to throw the ball at some point, and he's probably the guy that sees those targets, 6 or 7. But again, you got chalk plays. He's definitely not a chalk play.
Right. Nah. On the Falcon side, though, I kind of feel like we got to start somebody here. We got Drake London, we've got Kyle Pitts, we've got Bijan Robinson, and if we're fading, teams like the Steelers and the Saints and the Giants, then there's gotta pull something from some of these teams. What do you think?
I almost want to go to Bijan Robinson here. I mean, the Steelers last year, we always think of this lights out run defense. The front line really isn't that. Their linebackers are good, but their front line could be had. And the coverage isn't bad. Patrick Queen's not bad. Landon Roberts not bad. But Bijan's a superstar. And I think they get out the gate and they really utilize him heavy. Again, I think there's better players on the slate. But if I have to use one, in week 1, he's probably the one that's most bankable in my mind. What do you think, Coop?
He's in there. He's in the lineup. I think that if you're making a lineup, and this lineup is going to be so loaded with stars, if you're making a lineup of just like the chalk stars in a week where we don't know much, that's the other part of it, right? Got to get him in there. I like Jerry's thinking though, because you do got to start a defense and a kicker. We fill them in kind of after the fact, where I come back and I say, hey, here are the teams that are left. But we can consider that if we don't use Bijan. So not bad thinking there, Jerry, going up against if they have to throw Justin Fields in there, who hasn't even practiced with the ones much, that could be turnover city. Next game here on the slate, Patriots, our former great New England Patriots, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. This one opened up at 8.5, 9. And then when Jacoby Brissett was announced as the starter, it actually came down a little bit. I think people, believe that he can keep the ship afloat. It's not going to be as ugly with him in there. Not to mention Jamar Chase and T. Higgins now dealing with some. Jamar Chase, shows up and it says he might not even play, and then T. Higgins now gets banged up. Boy, kind of a rug pull.
Well, by the way, Coop, you did say keep the ship with a P afloat, right? That was a P?
That's very. Yeah.
All right, we're keeping something afloat. All right, we'll go with the P one. I was thinking more with a different letter. Keeping the something else afloat.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had to say it. Just thinking that way.
Yeah, no, you're right though, man. It is some BS going on over there. And I think that it's in their best interest to lose. So as a Patriots fan, I'm like, hey, you know what? If we're gonna lose, let's do it right. Let's lose them all. So go Bengals. So we're not gonna start anybody from the Patriots. Not right now. I mean, there's opportunity in your redraft leagues. If you had to pick a Patriot in a redraft league, let's say you're doing an FFPC draft and you can draft today or tomorrow still, folks out there, if you want to do a real draft, the tournament doesn't start yet because they want to have the main event people. Everybody's in Vegas, right? Go to myffpc.com, use promo code Coop. The money that you use there can be used for dynasty leagues. It can be used for those drafts. It can be used for these weekly contests. So use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. If you were going to pick somebody today in one of those drafts, which Patriot would you pick?
It would be Ramondre Stevenson. And here's why. Look, I don't think Higgins is playing. Chase, I heard his interview this morning. He's a game time decision his own. He ain't playing the whole game if he plays. I don't know how they're scoring points right now. Those two aren't around. And that means if the game's close, they're running Stevenson. Remember, the line may not be good, but Cincinnati, they were a bad run defense last year, and DJ Reader's gone. So guess what?
I know. It's funny that happens with the Bengals every year where it's like they lose pieces where they were already not good, and then we're surprised when they're not good, right? Like they lost both their safeties last year in free agency. Jesse Bates obviously looking great in Atlanta, and then everyone's like, well, what's going on here? It's like, dude, what did you think was going to happen, right? It's funny how that happens. So on the Bengals side, now we're in a tough spot because do we want to start Chase? Higgins is banged up. We're not going to start Burrow. We're not going to play the Moss Chase guessing game. So I don't the Moss Chase Brown guessing game. So I don't know. I feel like it's Jamar Chase or nobody, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no chalk play. If you want to get really nuts and you want to do this crazy thing that nobody's like 0% and you're going to try that, Andre Yoshivas. He had a heck
Yeah,
of a
Andre
camp. The dude's
Rosivas.
big, he's fast, he's
Uh-huh.
agile, he's explosive. Again, a dynamite camp. If these guys don't play, somebody's catching the ball. And the
Right.
Patriots really don't have much game film on him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He did based on all the depth charts. He beat out Jermaine Burton for number 3 chair. I think what we're going to see this year, Jim, is we might see. I think Yoshi's still going to be the guy that comes out for 2 wide receiver sets. Like, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I think we're going to see more Chase in the slot because I think Yoshi's more
Yes,
of an outside
yes.
guy. I love the upside on Chase long term. It's just this
Mhm.
week it's so hard to start him when he just put his hat on for the first time like 2 days ago. You know. Very annoying. Should have just paid the guy whatever. Just give him whatever Justin Jefferson got
Right?
and 1 cent. Give him the
Call it a
exact
day.
same deal. I think both Jefferson and Chase would be if they both got the same exact contract. They would be like great. You know, it's this rivalry. They're both teammates at LSU, and they got this stupid rivalry.
Dude, Chase will say this. I want 1 penny more. That's
I
what he
was,
would say.
I was,
1 penny.
He did actually say that, and I was joking that
Oh my God.
what if Justin Jefferson had a clause in his contract that they put in advance that says if Chase gets 1 more cent than him, then it kicks in this automatic clause that gives him 2 more cents.
Oh my God.
That would be
Put in your
incredible.
2 cents. Love it.
Put in the 2 cents. The 2 cents clause. That would be incredible. That would be great.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's get to a game where we're actually going to pull players from Arizona Cardinals,
Ooh.
Buffalo Bills. Jim, 47.5 point over under is what I saw on MGM earlier. 6-point favorites for the Bills, but that's mostly because the Cardinals defense. There are folks out there that are saying it could be the very worst defense. I'm going to ask you about this, Jim. So Jonathan Gannon shows up. He comes over from the Eagles, who ran a 4-3, right? And last year, the Cardinals were a 3-4. So Gannon just kind of says, okay, here's the personnel we have. We're just going to run a 3-4. But it looks like they're going to run the 3-4 again. They didn't. It does take a long time to turn over some of these spots, but I don't know, man. It feels very strange that he's not converting it to a 4-3. Robert Saleh immediately released like multiple guys, Henry Anderson, all these guys, the day he showed up and said, we're running my defense. Jonathan Gannon seems to just be going with the flow, and they've been bad. So what's the deal with that?
I mean, they have no building blocks. Buda Baker is not as good as he was, and he's their best player. Right now, that's Mac Wilson, seriously? And there's nobody. Dennis Gardeck had a half a season where he was able to rush the passer. We know what he is. So how do you build when you have no building blocks?
Dude, I don't know, man. And that's the funny part to me. It's like if you don't have pieces that are like locked in, at least convert it to the defense that they
Right.
hired you to run. It's like seems very strange. Hey, good for fantasy football though. So against this Cardinals defense, where do you? I mean, Joe Brady does like to run, but I always worry with James Cook that he's just going to get a bunch of empty yards.
You're right. If there's a week where he's going to break off big plays, it'll be here. But I think teams are going to load up the box now with no receivers to worry about in Buffalo. This is a real tough one. Honestly, I like both tight ends in this game.
Yes, Kincaid.
Speaking your language, right?
Let's go Kincaid on one side and maybe McBride on the other.
Because Milano's out.
I think we should. Yeah, Matt Milano done. Folks that didn't see it, the All-Pro linebacker tore his bicep, and they're saying that if he does come back, it won't be till the NFL playoffs. So this, and that's the funny thing is, Jim, when I go and rank the Bills' defense over the last few years, when Matt Milano plays, I consider them a bottom 5 team to start tight ends against. And when he's out, then you can start whoever you want. It is that simple with this team. Jordan Poyer's gone. Matt Milano's not there. Tight ends, start him if you got him. So I think McBride, we could start both these guys. There's enough flexes here. So I love that here. For those that just joining us, what's happening, Albert, everybody coming in, what we're doing is we're going through the slate and we're pulling out the best possible matchups, kind of along the way telling you who to avoid and who we really like. And we're building an FFPC lineup where the only rule is you can't start 2 guys from the same team. So that's why we're going through and we're saying, okay, do we want to start James Conner? Because otherwise we could just start all Dolphins or all Bills or whatever. But in this case, we're trying to pull like one or two guys to consider here. So we're going to consider the two tight ends from that spot. What about the Colts and the Texans here? Colts Texans 49-point over under. So expecting some fireworks here. And this is riddled with fun players all around.
The Colts played over 90% zone. That's their top in the league. And we saw the Nico Collins experience. Man, he fits perfectly with the type of zone that they play in Indy, and he just shredded them. And I know they have other receivers there, but there's no way they're going away from that until they stop it. Nico Collins is going to have a massive game here.
I love that, dude, because I love Nico. We want to get him in there. And again, we don't have to worry about, you and I always talk about what if they do bring in fullback British Brooks, though I think, I'm kind of with you that they're probably going to use less fullback with what they're doing this year. But you don't have to worry about Nico being the odd man out because he's 6'4", 220. So if you're deciding at goal line, 6'4", 220 Nico Collins, or do we take out the 165-pound Tank Dell who actually got hurt in the goal line play last year? Decisions. I guess they could take out Stephon Diggs, but that's the decision. And yes, Hoosier, we're going through the slate. We're looking at it in terms of FFPC. But if you guys have any questions on players, start, sits, whatever, ask them. Just do us a favor. We're trying to keep the show flowing because there's a lot of games this week. Try and ask them when it's a relevant game. So, like, if you had a question, Stephon Diggs versus Deontay Johnson, now would be the time to ask it. Or when we're talking about the Panthers, right? So get those questions in here. We'll try and answer them for you guys. On the Colts side, do we do it? Do we go with the ultimate upside play here, or do we play it a little more conservative with everybody at our disposal? Do we go Anthony Richardson or no?
Man, I like Jonathan Taylor a little better. I cannot fault you going Richardson. Can't fault. Josh Downs probably isn't playing. Not that that's a big deal. We're looking for running anyway. But man, that run defense is overturned. They got Danielle Hunter, Mario Edwards on the front line. They had some turnover. They're not a good run defense. Christian Harris is on the injured reserve. I think Taylor he can go for $150 here.
It's JT. And again, there's got to remember that we can't use the guys playing tonight. So no Saquon Barkley, no Josh Jacobs. We're missing some key backs. So let's consider JT on this one. We do have a question on this game, and good job. Tank Dell or Chuba Hubbard? And I think we'll assume PPR for this one, but let us know, and if it's half.
So, obviously, volume is king in fantasy football, and Chuba has to get some volume. That game you saw with the Saints, it projects to be low scoring, which means it projects to be close, which means he'll be touching the ball frequently. Tank Dell, we love him. We just don't know what the role is right now. We don't know how the shakeout is, right, Coop?
We don't know. And again, if Tank is heavily featured and it's just fireworks everywhere, and CJ Stroud is 2013 Peyton Manning, then we'll happily start Tank Dell for the rest of time. But for now, you start Chuba. And the thing is, with Chuba, he's kind of an expiring asset himself. So it feels good to use him for these games. That's why you got him on the team. So go with Chuba there. Next game here on our slate is this is an interesting one. Titans and Bears. So the Titans loaded up with weapons, Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard, but the Bears also super loaded up with weapons with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Gerald Everett. All right, let's start on the Titan side. If we were going to pull a Titan, Hopkins, Ridley, I don't know if we want to. I think there's too many good wide receivers to go there. I think there is.
Yeah, it's hard. If Jalen Johnson played lights out at corner last year, Hopkins probably isn't 100% healthy. They're splitting the running backs. The line today from Jim Wyatt it's a 50-50 split. There's nobody.
Yeah, nobody there. I think I'm with you on that. It's two split. On the Bears side, again, we don't know how things are going to shake out. We do know DJ Moore is probably the top dog. We're not using Rome Odunze. We're not using any of the tight ends.
No.
I don't like Swift, right? Caleb Williams, not in the first game, right?
No.
So I could be good just fading this game entirely. Maybe this is where we'll grab a kicker or something from. Hoosier wants to know Chuba or Javonte Williams?
Javonte Williams, they're probably going to catch a lot of passes this year.
Yeah.
Sean Payton back in the day, you remember, I'm not saying either Mark Kamara. Kamara and Mark Ingram were startable every week, and not just as like flexes. They were both like high-end starting running backs. And this team, they're built to run the line. Javonte, even if he splits the work, there's a lot to go around, and they're going to throw to those running backs a ton because Bo Nix, they're going to have him dump it off. I love Javonte. What do you think?
I'm fully on that, man. Joe Lombardi, that's what he loves to do, right? Joe Lombardi's MO. Going back, I'm not even kidding, going back to 2014, every offense he's been a part of has been top 5 in passes to the running back. He just is obsessed with it. That 2014 Lions team, 3 different running backs got 50 or more targets.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was Reggie Bush, Theo Riddick, and Joik Bell.
Joik Bell, 100%.
Since then, he's had, what? I also don't blame him because his offenses have had Alvin Kamara, they've had Austin Eckler, so he's working with what he's got. But I think at this stage, it's all he knows, right? They want, that's why they got rid of Russell Wilson. They brought in somebody that throws accurate, shorter passes. So,
And I don't like the Cortland Sutton on Reek Woolen. Reek Woolen was hurt last year, but that could be a real tough matchup. They might have to throw to the running backs. They may not have a receiver open all day.
Well, while we're talking about that, let's just jump real quick to that game. So it's Denver Broncos at Seattle Seahawks. I know it's the narrative heard around the world when they traded Russell Wilson. They made this the week 1 matchup, and the Seahawks beat the Broncos, and everyone was like, ah. And then the next year, the Broncos are pretty bad. I guess they still won like 8 or 9 games, but I get they're hitting us with that matchup again. So, what do you think here? Broncos, Seahawks. You said you don't like Sutton, right?
No, I really think it's a bad matchup for him. I think
is.
that, yeah.
Patrick Surtain is, sorry, I was thinking the other side, but yeah, it's not a good
Reek
matchup.
Woolen was hurt last year, but he's a big physical corner, and Sutton's a big physical receiver. And at best, I think it's a stalemate.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to start anybody from the Broncos, to be honest. On the Seahawks side, you run into another similar problem because Patrick Surtain death, right, is what you're facing with him. And that's from for DK Metcalf. So if we're going to pull somebody here, I guess we could consider Kenneth Walker. We could consider, maybe.
I think so, because remember, there's no film on this offense yet, right? And the full expectations, they have both tight ends, the 2 of the 3 tight ends go in the offseason. Parkinson out the door, Disley out the door. They're running split wide receiver splits. And if they're doing that, there's going to be gaps. Kenneth Walker didn't have those, and he's a big explosive threat on the ground. I think he's going to have space in this offense, and the Broncos, they are not the defense is going to be able to shut that down. Walker has some unrealized upside here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Ryan Grubbs came out and he was like, this guy is electric catching passes out of the backfield. I was like, Ryan, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
I was like, I thought we had it all figured out. I thought this guy's a rundown guy. This guy's a pass down guy. And I don't know, maybe he wants to use a more consolidated offense. I think this year we see, because of what Grubb does, he wants to use 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end instead of the rotating tight ends and 2 wide receivers at a time. So we're going to see better years from JSN and Noah Fant than last year. The question is, does better equal fantasy relevant? And with JSN, I think it does. With Noah Fant, I don't quite think there's enough. Yeah. Noah Fant will at some point break off because he's very athletic. He will break off a 50-yard touchdown and never will rush to the wire. But unless you project him to be a top 2 target on the team, you don't really want to go there. He's multiple injuries away. And wants to know JSN or Zeke. I think I'm willing to go JSN here, considering his role. And Zeke, I'm seeing now. It's a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup too.
Terrible matchup because people think the Browns can't stop the run. No, they were better last year, and I think they'll become even better this year. They added more linebacker help. But you're right, JSN, he's going to avoid Surtain in the slot for sure, which is going to help. That'll be a hot read as well because Denver can bring a little bit of heat. So I think JSN is going to get open quickly, and I think that's going to be really maximized this year.
I'm liking it, man. I'm liking it. So JSN over Zeke there, and we'll go Kenneth Walker for our lineup if we're going to go there. Again, at the end of the show, we're going to wrap it all up. What we're doing is we're pulling the best players out of these matchups and deciding whether we're going to utilize them or not. This one here has got some players we could potentially utilize. Next one here is the Raiders at the Chargers. This is a 4:00 game, 40-point over-under, which is pretty gross. Spread is 3 in favor of the Chargers. So, man, I don't know. The Raiders, it's like if you're going to be dogs against this team that lost their top 4 weapons in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, and Austin Eckler, and you're going to be dogs, it's like why even bother bringing in Gardner Minshew? It's like it's just crazy. Why trade Devontae? I don't know. But for me, I look at the Raiders, and I am still willing to consider Devontae Adams for this lineup. I'm still
Consider what?
consider Devontae Adams
Okay.
for this lineup. I'm willing to consider it, but we're not going to start like Zamir White or anything, are we?
If there is a week to start White, and look, that point spread, Coop, it's all about Jim Harbaugh. Everybody's like enamored. I thinking the franchise is safe. That's not even close. Their defense is stars and scrubs. They haven't been able to stop the run in 3 years. They have no better ability now to stop the run than they did in any of those other years.
No.
The Raiders have a really good, aggressive run blocking offensive line. Recent reports from the coaching staff about Zamir White say that he is better than they expected. Looks a little more explosive. I know he doesn't catch a lot of passes, so that probably rules him out.
Right.
But I think he could get 100 and a quarter in this game. And I think the Raiders are winning this game. The Raiders are not losing this game.
Zamir White's looking like you, Jim. He's looking yoked over there, dude. Big dog, big dog. Yeah, but you're right. It doesn't. When you look at pictures of Zamir White, it doesn't really look like a guy that's really reeling in the passes. And he didn't in college. Dude, in college, I think the most he ever had in the season was like 5. He was not catching passes in college. Last year, he maybe 7. Like until the last few games where they had no one left, he wasn't even thinking about throwing a pass to that fella. So I'm with you. It's tough in PPR, but definitely against this team. And Brock Bowers, people are going to start him because they're enamored with the upside, but you will have the rest of our lives to start Brock Bowers if he pops off. Not to mention, if I'm going to start him, probably not going to start him against Derwin James. It's like the one good piece of that defense, right? Like, it's just not it's not the right spot for it. It's not the right spot to do something like that. So we're going to pass on that. Washington, Tampa Bay. On the Tampa Bay side, I feel like got to start a wide receiver, right? We got to pick one of these wideouts. But that's the question, which always happens at FFPC. You can't start them both.
I know.
So do we want Evans or Godwin?
You know, Coop, I mean, if Liam Cohen brings him any elements from Sean McVay,
it's Chris Godwin.
Right. We could see like him use like Cooper Kupp, man. Imagine if that happens. But for week 1, we've got to assume Baker Mayfield, he likes to throw deep. There's no pass rush from the Commanders. I know. They got no corners.
You're gonna pick Mike Evans.
But you know I love Godwin, but I don't know how Cohen's gonna use him. I know that Mayfield has 2 tackles who can protect. There's no pass rush. The corners are horrible, and that chemistry was there. And so my guess is he throws at least 3 deep passes to Evans in this game, at most 3, 2 to 3, and he catches on 1 or 2 of them.
It's Mike Evans. And the thing is, it's like clockwork. You can predict when the Chris Godwin games will come. It's both Saints games with Marshawn Lattimore. It's when you have the big physical corners. They go, they take the low hanging fruit. It is easier. I was just hoping I could get an excuse to get my guy in there, but it is Mike Evans.
We got to see week 1, Coop, on that one, because I'm with you. If they use, like I said, I repeated this, if they use him in any way like McVay used players like Kupp, Godwin could have one of those mother of all seasons here, because Mayfield in his 2 healthy seasons in Cleveland with Landry was like 1,000-yard receiver, and he is Jarvis Landry. This is Chris Godwin.
Right. It has to be done. Question in the chat: would you start Bowers or Hunter Henry? I still, even though I love Henry and I'm driving the Henry bus and I'm beeping the horn every chance I get, but I would still start Bowers just because we don't there is no safety there with Hunter Henry. That's the problem. If you had a safe play, like if you were asking me like Bowers or Goddard, I would just be like, okay, just start Goddard. You know what you're going to get, right? But with Hunter Henry, we don't know what we're going to get. He's been banged up. I love Hunter Henry, and Alex Van Pelt's going to call more screens, but they're big time dogs here. I don't know. What do you think? You go upside play or safe play here? Henry's the safe play technically still.
He technically is. And remember, and you know this, Coop, Henry started out last year. He had a couple 50-yard games in the first 3 weeks. His last 2 games were the injury. He hit about 50 yards. The whole middle was nothing because that offense was so dysfunctional. Henry can still play. And Jacoby Brissett, he's a professional quarterback. And if his receivers can't get open, there's one guy who can. And if there's a pass rush coming at all, where does he got to throw it?
Good versus man-to-man. He's good versus man-to-man. He scored 6 touchdowns, which was the second most of any tight end on a team that only threw 16. I don't know. I could be if you want to play it safe, Luke. And I know Luke. Luke's Luke. He's a big fantasy alarm guy. We just drafted a team with the pros with Joe's together, which was awesome. He's a sharp player, so I know Luke is going to make this call on his own. But you know what to do, Luke. If you want the juice, go Bowers. If you want to play it safe, go Hunter Henry. And I'll tell you, hey, after week 1 last year, Hunter Henry was a number 1 tight end in fantasy. The other, also in the top 5, was Hayden Hurst and Donald Parham, which we won't talk about. But the first half of that stat sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
On to the next match. I'm not starting any Commanders. No Commanders, right?
No Commanders. Yeah, no.
We don't have time.
You know what? No, you're right. No, but if you absolutely had to take one, McLaurin has a phenomenal matchup. Jamel Dean's physical, and that's not going to be a good matchup there. And obviously, the other corner, Carlton Davis, is gone. They have no corners. They really have no corners who can hang with him. And if the kid could throw the deep pass like we think he can, we could see McLaurin have a big game. Like you said, we're not starting him.
Not this week, yeah. But
if you're forced to, it's a matchup because they don't rush the passer well either. I know they blitz a lot, but they really don't have a good pass rush.
I'll put his name down because sometimes things get tight at the end, and we got to scrap a little bit. Definitely hold Jalen McMillan. We like him a lot. A lot of people were saying he should have been drafted over Jalen Polk, though as a Patriots fan, I am contractually obligated to like Jalen Polk now. But there are definitely people that like McMillan more than Polk. And if someone goes down, Evans or Godwin jumps right to that number 2 chair, I think. Cade Otton last year, 0.8 yards per route run after leading the league in routes run. So Cade Otton he's okay, right? So, but he's not necessarily a barrier to entry that's insurmountable for Jalen. So, definitely hold on to him. But if he's the last man on your bench, he should be the first guy dropped if you're doing a waiver ad. That's where I live with guys like that. I just like running back handcuffs. I don't got time unless they're offering me some standalone value. Those are the first guys I ditch. So, and again, other people aren't picking them up because it's the same situation as you. Next game here. This is a intriguing one. The over-under is low. What is with the over-under in the Dallas-Cleveland game, Jim?
Oh, man.
41? 41?
41 and a half. Yeah, 41. 41.
Ooh, stupid. What is going on? I mean, I just want to bet the over on principle, but I do also get it. It's like unproven offenses, good defenses, but I think Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson could prove to be better than people think. Makes it difficult to – I mean, we should start CeeDee Lamb. What do you think?
You would think because we saw it last year. They're not going to run. They know they can't run. Week 6 on, they learned we can't run, so we're just going to throw all day. And he is the one player you got to bet on. And we know they play like 43% man, and that's not changing this year. No. They have 3 good corners, but none of them are CeeDee Lamb good. So Lamb is the one who has to eat. I know he's been in for almost 2 weeks. There's a little concern there. What is his conditioning like? That's the only thing I worry about.
Yeah, the thing is this is 2 wide receivers and 4 flexes, right? So realistically, if we think a player is going to finish top 5 of their position, we should have him in the line. And I think Lamb, nobody's ranking him outside the top 5. So
right,
we got to have him in there. On the Browns side, not starting Watson, probably not starting Jerome Ford, just because there's too many running back options. I guess it's Amari Cooper or nobody, right?
Yeah, it has to be. Remember, Cooper played 5 games with Deshaun Watson last year, and he only had double-digit target once, but in 4 of those games, Cooper went over 90 yards with Deshaun Watson. And so those two got a real connection here. And at corner, Deron Bland's on the injured reserve. You got Diggs coming back from an ACL. Stephon Gilmore's gone. Safeties don't inspire me. Cooper has a good matchup here.
He's also one of those Sammy Watkins, Jared Cook, monster week 1 guys, right? Like just has monster week 1 and then gets banged up and kind of just peters around for a while. But week 1, he's such a week 1 guy too. So, and you know what? There's something to be said for that. I mean, everybody plays hurt for the entire season, but week 1, we kind of do want to lean into matchups. Okay, a couple more games here, then we'll put this lineup together. For those, if you joined us late, what's happening? We're doing an FFPC lineup, hypothetical one, because there's no contest this week. They start next week. All right. If you still want to draft a team, you can do redraft leagues right now on FFPC. Use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more. And you can also, whatever you deposit, you can use for these contests moving forward. But that's what we're doing. You can pick any players you want, but can't pick 2 players from the same team, which is a wrinkle I like. Someone should come out with a DFS like that, like one of the ones with pricing, but you also can't stack. And you know what I mean? That would be I don't know, people out there. I said it live on the air. So if you steal that idea, it's already been said. It's already right. I would mail it to myself and then I have a copyright. Right? So there you go. But Anyway, here's the big one, Jim. Here's the big one. Rams, Lions. 52-point over-under. So the over-under was 51, the highest of the week. And the world said that's not high enough. And the public came in betting the over. I also, Jim, I got to say, I'm betting some. I usually don't bet a lot of overs. I'm betting some overs this week because watching the game last night, dude, every drive is going to start at the 30 at least. Because the two kickoffs that got returned, the two kickoffs that actually got returned, both got past the 30. One got called back on a penalty, but then the Chiefs the entire game just said, we'll do the touchbacks. So every drive starts at the 30 now. Dude, this could be much more high-scoring games now.
This sounds stupid, but every 1 yard of field position greatly impacts the positive scoring rate. Yes. And we're talking 5 yards here. You're right. The scoring rate is going up significantly.
I'm throwing in some over-unders. This one, I don't know. It's already pretty high. I don't like betting overs on the 50s, but the thing is, last year we had games 75, 80, damn near 100 points. Whenever the Ravens and the Dolphins play, you know, the over-under should be set at like 75, right? So like 52, we have to have a Ram, we have to have a Lion. So do we pull our quarterback from this game?
Man, I know mobility is an issue here. The Rams are without Aaron Donald retirement. That means all those other guys who looked good last year, they're not looking that good this year because the triple team's gone. They traded away their best linebacker who can blitz, Ernest Jones. Their best cornerback, Darius Williams, went on the IR this week, and they lost their defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris.
Go, you're in such a role. Keep going. Keep going.
I know. And so, yeah, I mean, that said, Goff is going to be able to throw to anybody he wants at any time. There's going to be no pressure, and there's going to be able to move the ball. And Gibbs, they probably don't want to overdo him because of the injury he's dealing with.
I love when you talk football to me, Jim. It's the best, dude. Real football. So, okay, so we're not going to start Gibbs or Monty, Laporta or Amon-Ra St. Brown. If we're going to go with a mobile quarterback, then we got to play it that way, right?
And who do you like? St. Brown, probably, right?
Yeah, I do, because we already have two tight end options.
Yes,
and we could even still start one of the flex. So let's go with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
On the Rams side, we're not going to start Stafford. We decided we're going to try and get a mobile quarterback in there. So,
dude, Cooper Kupp is healthy, and they're saying the offense is running through him, and they've got something to prove. And this is as healthy as he'll be, as healthy as Stafford will be. I believe it. I believe Kupp is the offense, and they're going to trail. They're going to have to score 30 points to win, and I think they're playing from behind. Cooper Kupp goes for like 150 here.
Done and done. Awesome. I love that.
Done like Warwick.
Yes. All right. In this last matchup here, now
you didn't get that one, did you?
No, I don't know.
I said done like Warwick Dunn. Do you know who Warwick
Dunn is? Oh, yeah, of course I know Warwick Dunn.
Done like Warwick.
Yeah. So I was sorry. I was looking at the next game already.
That was terrible. Sorry.
No, that's great, dude. And honestly, shout out Warwick Dunn. You know what he's doing now?
No.
Dude, it's crazy. He's been just building houses for people. He's got a charity, because I guess he grew up and he didn't have a good upbringing. His whole charity is to go out and find, essentially find people that are worthy, that aren't doing that well and build houses. I guess he's built like an obscene number of houses. So
love work done,
dude. Oh
yes,
yeah. Talk about being the man, dude. He was a great player with the Bucks. So shout out work done, dude. Building houses. All right, this matchup again. We're going to have players from this game. It's the Jets and the 49ers. I mean, on the Jets side, I want to go Breece Hall, but you could sell me right now on Garrett Wilson if you want to.
Nope, don't need to. The Niners are not a good run defense, and they lost Eric Armstead, and they've got linebackers coming back from injury. No, they're going to get gashed on the ground here. The Jets, Breece Hall's going nuts here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Breece Hall, for people playing full PPR, I was saying, Breece Hall could be drafted as high as the RB1, honestly, because last year, 30 targets on screens, led the league. The year before that, Aaron Jones led the league, getting targets on screens from Aaron Rodgers. The year before that, Aaron Jones again, with Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, it's just part of the plan. Aaron Rodgers loves to audible to the screens. He knows when the blitz is coming. The ball comes out of his hand so quickly, right? And I guess the one downside is that Aaron Rodgers likes to audible at the goal line to pass. He likes calling his own his own name, right?
Yes.
But which could hurt the rushing touchdown total. But again, like if he's audibling and throwing, that could be Brees Hall too. So
Man, Brees Hall's going to go in from 20 or out in this game at least once.
I wonder what his receiving touchdown total is. I'm going to just go bet a bunch of receiving props for Brees Hall after this.
I like that.
On the 49ers side, we got to start a 49er. No Brock Purdy. And I mean, do we just start Christian McCaffrey? We don't have a ton of running backs that we pulled aside here.
He's still limited with a calf injury. I don't trust him. Do not trust him. Yeah, McCaff injury. I don't think they're going to play him every snap. I think he's not getting his – they can't risk him. This is the Avengers. It's a very fragile roster build. And Trent Williams, if he plays, how much – it's got to be Debo here, right? As good as those corners are, they don't use Debo like a wide receiver. They get him into space and they get him underneath everything. And Ayuk's not in full football game shape. Kittle's going to have to block this week.
Gadget play Debo, yeah. I mean, they have the 3 best corners in the league, right?
Yeah.
With DJ Reed and Michael Carter too, and Sauce Gardner. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So they're going to have to do some sort of gadget stuff, get guys in space, and that's the way to do it over the middle. So okay, so Debo would be the guy here. All right, so we've got our guys. Here's what we're doing, everybody. We're going through, and we'll start by just putting our favorite plays in first. So we're going to put Brees Hall in there, for instance.
Yes.
We can't use 2 players from the same team. So once we use Brees Hall, we can't use Jets for anything. So Jets are crossed out here. Who else do we really love? We
love Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, so we'll get
or
Bijan
Taylor,
in.
and we love Taylor too.
Right. So we have a bunch of flexes. So we'll put Bijan in, and those are our 2 running backs. Let's jump over to wide receiver. Here were the names that we pulled aside, and I'm going to cross out a couple right now. But we have so many pulled aside. I'm going to get rid of Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm going to get rid of Deontay Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to get rid of McLaurin. We don't need him.
No.
I think we are definitely getting in. We need 2 players from Rams, Lions, and I think we start Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
So we got Cooper Kupp in there. And that's what's so fun about these. If you go to my FFPC and get these up, when you look at your lineup at the end of the day, it's just insane. It's insanity. So we're going to start Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's going to be our Rams and Lions. After that, we have to pick from – we have to decide if we want to use Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or not.
You said Chase. We can't use Chase because I don't even know he's playing. I think he said it from his mouth. I don't think he's a full participant in the game. Even if he plays, he's not playing the whole game.
You know what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put in the Bengals defense as our defense against the Patriots.
Love it.
Just get that done with. So no Chase. And then the other options for wide receiver. Well, actually, let's come back to that because we actually have our 2 wide receiver spots filled. The rest will all be flexes.
Okay.
At tight end, who do you like better, McBride or Kincaid?
McBride because of the matchup. As much as we think the Bills lost their whole defense, their 3 corners are still really good. Russell Douglas, Taron Johnson, Dane Jack. Third one. I'm off on that third name. They're all very good. Man, the middle's gonna be open all day.
Okay, so we've got McBride in there. Now we have to decide if we want to use Kincaid or Josh Allen because we're going to need a quarterback at some point. I think the quarterback options are, put it this way, Jim. Do we want to start Kincaid and Anthony Richardson, or do we want to start Josh Allen and Jonathan Taylor?
I can be talked out of it, but I like the Allen-Taylor duo.
I think that sounds exactly right. All right, good. And then we don't have to worry about Kincaid because we have Allen in there. This is fun. I love doing these.
This is fun.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got our Cardinals, our Bills. We do teams that we have to pick players from. I think we need to have a Buccaneer. So I think we should use Mike Evans.
Perfect.
We now also have to take guys from both sides of Miami versus Jaguars. So at the flexes, do we go Tyreek Hill and ETN as we planned?
I think so.
Okay.
200-yard Tyreek. I think we'll be calling him this week.
It's locked in. So we have to have guys from that game. So here are our options for the remaining flex of the players we named. We have Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Kenneth Walker, and here's the real problem, the real troublemaker of the crew. CeeDee Lamb is still available.
God. Dude, Nico had those massive games against that team, the Colts last year.
I'm putting CeeDee Lamb. Actually, we have So it's here's the thing is we're running since we're out of spots.
Go with Lamb. Yeah, you
Okay.
can't go wrong with Lamb. You can't go wrong with
We'll
Lamb.
put Lamb in, and then for our last deliberation, we can only start one of Mike Evans, Nico Collins, or Travis Etienne. Do we want to go Nico over Mike Evans?
Man,
I know this is the problem when you can have a lineup of only super mega stars. It gets a little hard. I mean, the decisions get easier during bye weeks for this. To be honest, like the bye weeks, I love the bye weeks because there's less decisions. The decisions are what kill you. So it's Nico. What do you think, Chad? Nico Collins, Travis Etienne, or Mike Evans?
so last year in week 18, Nico went 9 for $195 and a touchdown. And in week 2, which was the offense wasn't even installed, he went 7 for $146 and a touchdown. That's two varying parts of the season, beginning and end. Teams were different, but Nico Collins wasn't.
But they got Diggs now. That's the curveball. If it was just Nico and Tank, it would be so easy.
You'd think Bobby Slowick would say, I've got this automatic beater of the Colts. And you know what? We're just going to let Diggs get some catches and go away from that. Do you really think he could rationally say that?
I think Bobby is from that Shanahan tree of by any means of like, I could see him like Shanahan is willing to lean on one guy the entire game, right? 4 touchdowns for McCaffrey against the Cardinals, 3 touchdowns for Kittle against the Cowboys. So I get what you're saying. If Nico has the matchup, he could just let's just brute force kill them with Nico Collins. I think, okay.
Kenny Moore's like 5'9". He's their best corner. Like Nico could like step over him, I think.
Yeah, okay. We'll go Nico. We'll go Nico. We got all year to start Mike Evans. So there you go. And then what we'll do then is because we're not starting a Jaguar, but we want access to that over under, that is the kicker we will start.
Perfect.
Who the heck is the Jaguars kicker?
Yeah, and you know what? I wish I could say I knew that right now because they switched kickers. I'll tell you right now, the kicker is, and here's the kicker, Cam Little. Cam Little.
Hey, that gives us a unique name that other people might not have.
Yeah. Or if we call him last name first, Little Cam. I like that better.
Got a little Cam. All right. So that's the lineup. Typically, again, this week, there's no contest. So typically we'd have it right up on the screen for you. But here's the lineup. This is how cool FFPC is. We're playing by the rules. So there's no draft, no salary. The only rule is we can't use 2 players from the same team. So this lineup is legal. This lineup is allowed in these contests. Our lineup would be Josh Allen at quarterback. Our running backs would be Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson. Our starting wide receivers would be Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And this is full PPR tight end premium. Our tight end would be Trey McBride, who had the second most targets of any tight end behind only Evan Engram last year from the Zach Ertz game on. And Evan Engram had the second most targets of any tight end of all time. So that's pretty good. Our flexes, because we've got all the studs in our lineup. So our flexes are just little names like Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and then our differentiator is Nico Collins. That's how we're good. We've got the heavy chalk. Nico Collins is going to come and have a monster game, and he might be low rostered. We're going to start the Bengals D against the Patriots because Patriots are worst team in the league. There's no question. I hate to say it, but it's true. And then we'll start Cam Little because we didn't use a Jaguar in one of the higher over-under games, and that's where the points live. What do you think, Jim? I think I'm hitting up Eric Bachman and I'm saying open the contest
yes, because
open
we
the
have the winner.
Maybe they will open them after the last drafts. I think the first contest is going to be week 2. I wish we were running it, but I'll track it and I'll let you know. But hey, everybody, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Everybody in the chat, go to myffpc.com. Use promo code Coop if you want to play this crazy format with us. myffpc. Promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. Every Friday, we're going to go through and we're going to make one of these lineups. We're going to answer your questions and we're going to hit up all the matchups. Man, we got a great Jim Coventry had to kick us off because he's got the best attitude, he's got the best biceps, and he's got real football takes that there they are. that you think deep, right? Like you're thinking about these actual defenses. Next week we'll have data. And we'll bring in some data people. Yeah, you and me, we love doing that. But we've got guys like Justin Boone coming on. Andrew Erickson, Dave Kluge, a good lineup of good folks. It's my show, so I'm just bringing on my friends, so it's going to be a good one. Jim, tell everybody what you got going on this year. I know you'll be on Sunday morning, Sirius XM before us once again.
Yes. Oh my God. I get to lead off for the cleanup hitters at Fantasy Alarm. So yeah, you won't want to miss Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. We start at 9 Eastern. The Coop and the Bender go at an hour afterwards. So you definitely stay there. We have a RotoWire Fantasy Football only YouTube page. I'm doing content pretty much every day on that channel. And at the X, Jim Coventry NFL. That's the hub where we put everything that's going on.
Of course. Yeah. The name of the contest is FFPC Weekly Contest, and you can start making lineups for week 2 already, as I saw on there. Get in those contests now before they all fill. They've got different levels of them, 30 teams, 10 teams, whatever. But that's it. We've already gone over an hour. We hit on every matchup, Jim. Pretty efficient. I think we got this thing figured out. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in. Again, subscribe.